Alrighty, let's get this underway.
Round 1. Capture the objective.
KO. KO. No.
The power of destruction. I'm restored.
Alright, so this is going to sound really weird, but your number one problem right now is that you're overhealing.
No.
So, if you're concerned about meter at all, right? If you're concerned about meter going into a fight, whether or not you need it, you need to be really hesitant with this damage orb. This damage orb really has to be like considered, right? In this case, you have full meter, it'll probably be fine. So you can just damage orb here. But just be careful because like if they have a Genji and you can't see him and he's behind it, and he deflects the orb, you're gonna be really sad. And second, when you do throw the damage orb, do you see how you're pre-healing like a lot? Like you've used like what is that? I can't do. If I had to guess, about an eighth of your meter before anything has happened and before your team is taking any damage, right? So you need to be a bit reactive with Moira. You don't want to pre-heal people unless they're ulting, right? So for example, if your Genji is pulling out Blade, you heal him whether or not like he's taking damage, right? If your McCree is high noon, you heal him whether or not he's like missing health, right? Because like these ults like will take damage, so pre-healing him is pretty safe, right? But in this case, your Ryan is holding shield, and your whole team is full health. Nobody's taken a single shot yet, and you're holding down the spray button, right? So again, if you want to heal people and you're not sure, do like a quick puff. Hang on, let me show you what that looks like. Let me in. All right. So Moira regens meter relatively fast
Science
on her own,
will reveal
as long as you don't
the
use
truth.
too much of it. So if I do this, right, meter's back, right? So this is what I call a puff, right? And you can like apply the puff like to a lot of people at the same time. Let's wait for these guys to take some damage. So like they're both missing health. They're both healing,
Seeming
right?
need of aid.
And I use essentially no meter, and to apply 2 seconds of healing to both of them, right? They're both healing, right? And like this is how you can heal more people at the same time, right? If you're in the middle of a team, you just do like a quick spray to everybody, right? And you can actually do that.
Get into position.
You really only want to focus heal when they actually need it, right? Or if like when healing over time isn't like good enough, right? Because like your healing over time is about like I think it's 17 healing per second, so like a Lucio aura essentially.
This will restore
And what is it? It heals for 2 seconds. So like again, every 2 seconds, just give them a spray, right?
This will improve your condition.
In about 2 seconds, I recharge all that, right? And it's just super efficient. And that's something you want to really emphasize, and that way that you can buy time to start right clicking, right? So you heal, like you're getting low, line them up, heal, then you can start right clicking, give them a spray, start right clicking.
Allow me.
Right. This way, like your team constantly is healing, with like while you're still finding time to do damage. This is really valuable to do, and you should do it whenever possible. Like obviously don't be so conservative with meter that you never use it and that your team dies, but like the more conservative you are with your meter, the more you actually have during the fight itself, which is when it's really important, right? And I need to find this replay again. Hang on. I believe it's this one. Hope so.
Now arriving at Yijiang Tower.
It is not. Hang on. It is this one. All right.
Now arriving at Yijiang Tower. Ready for battle.
All right.
5, 4.
Yeah, so again, be careful about overhealing or pre-healing as Moira. Because it's just not very good unless you're sure your team's about to take damage, right? So like as you're engaging, pre-healing is okay, right? But not too much. Just like start it, and then if your team starts taking damage, then continue healing. And if they don't take damage, just let the if they take like minor damage, like chip damage, just let the heal over time like carry you through. This is where you really like to have a heal orb. But again, like you're down to half meter, and like you've actually done relatively little healing overall. Like this one doesn't have stats. You got 16% ult, right? And this so I don't know, give or take. All right, let me do some math. Moira's ult requires about 2,900, I think, charge, something like that. So this is 10% plus half, which is I'm not very good at math. 290, about 400 healing ish, right? And that sounds like a lot, but like it's not really that much for how much meter you spend and how clumped your team is, right? So again, be careful with how much you heal, right? And obviously, I've spent all this time on like the first like 15 seconds of the round, but like this stuff is like it's like sort of like the groundwork for all Moira plays. So just like be conservative with meter. Because like now you do need a focus heal because your Ryan's taking a lot of damage and you need to be topped up as much as possible. But you're already running out of meter, right? Also find every opportunity, just like hold right click, right? So in these situations, right? Just oh my god, I can't model this. What am I trying? Like as soon as your team is healthy, right? Or you're okay with stopping healing, just hold down right click, and just like start swinging your mouse until you find somebody to actually shoot at, right? So like as soon as the Genji like pops out, you want to latch onto him, and then you start like vaguely aiming at him and trying to like get meter back. There's also some tech with getting meter back. I don't think it's super important as long as you have like good meter management fundamentals. But generally speaking, like if you just tap right click like really hard, like just spam it, you'll actually build meter a little bit faster at the cost of losing a lot of damage. Yeah, for the most part, like good meter management will carry you through. Good heal orb. Good damage orb.
This will improve your condition.
So in this case, right, again, like, do you see how, like, this guy's purple, and you're still trying to heal him? I know as Moira, it's hard to resist the urge to just do something at all times, because, like, she's such a high output healer, or hero, but, like, this guy's literally purple, right? Like, your Lucio's literally purple, and you focus heal. And you know roughly when he got purple, right? So you just wait out the 4 seconds, and before the 4 seconds starts, like, just before the 4 seconds ends, you start healing him, right? And it'll be fine. And this time is way more productive to just, like, try and, like, damage the Tracer instead, right? But instead you go from having about a third meter to like doing no healing to this Lucio, like just starting your heal on the Lucio and then getting slept, and you look, you have no meter left, right? Now you're super reliant on the orb to carry this fight because you have no healing left. So it's good that you're finding some time to build meter. But again, be conservative so that way you're not forced to like build meter off enemies.
This
orb's fine.
is my will.
Like again, like look at this this puff spam, right? You only need like one puff, make sure it's on the right person. And
Allow me. Allow me to repair the damage.
That orb's kind of bad. Your Ryan was generally fine. And you need orb for that when the fight actually starts. Like right now, damage orb Cole or heal orb Cole is really strong, right? Just looking at this, right? It just looks good. But this is that only be like, but you're probably just going to blind cold this, and just like waste a lot of orb value because like your orb didn't really do much, and then on top of that, the duration of Cole will overlap with the orb timing, so like you don't get a free orb, right? So the value of like orbing right before you Cole is not only do you get like double the value, like you calling and getting orb, and you like these effect stacks for more healing and more damage, right? But you're also like not charging your next orb during the Cole, right? So in this case, like your orb will finish cooling down during your coalescence, and then you're just gonna be sad because like it's just an orb. Like I mean, you'll have the orb at the end of Cole, which is nice, but you'll have it anyways at the end of your Cole.
Repairing the damage.
This also looks like a pretty good Cole if you want to go for it.
Position. Surrender to my will.
All right, this is probably not the Cole. It probably moves out. Oh no, you just waited here. Yeah, you just waited too long. Cole's an ult you want to use early.
When faced with a setback, we must challenge our assumptions.
Take cover.
Yeah, do you see like how you're panicking? So earlier you're healing the Diva, right? So if you want to focus healer for a little bit, like not too long, like just like again, if you just heal her 15 HP per second or 17 HP per second with the Lucio heal of like 15, then that's like, what is that? 33 healing per second, which is like, I mean, it'll take a bit to heal your full Diva to full, but it doesn't really cost you much meter. If you want to spend a little bit of meter to accelerate that, that's okay, because you'll get it back more or less in the time. But like don't spend too much meter on it. But then like you panic here.
Setback, we must challenge our assumptions.
And you like in order to look at the pulse bomb, you turn to look at it, right? But you never actually let go of mouse 1 here, and you end up wasting a lot of meter here. That's not actually healing anyone, right? Right, and so now you're going to the next fight at 1/3 meter, right? And this is like again, I keep trying to stress this. Like, if you run out of meter as Moira, now you have to take dumb risks in order to get meter back, or like rely entirely on your orb to carry the fight, right? And you just never want to rely on it, right here. Right?
This
Okay,
will
so
heal
use
you.
orb, that's fine. But you wouldn't have to use orb if you just had more meter, right? If you had like 2/3 meter, you could afford to spend some meter here. It wouldn't be a big deal.
I need to recharge. I require assistance.
That really should have been a heal orb. I'm sure you know why. Like, even before the fire strike hits you, right? Like, that really should have been a heal orb. Again, careful with the panic. Like, if you're not sure whether, like, what you're healing at, right? It's okay to just not heal, right? Just don't press the button, right? Or if you press the button, let go really fast, so you just put your hand up, but you don't actually eject any spray, right? And then you just wait until you're, like, lined up, and that way you don't waste meter. Meter is really important.
I'm restoring. Mercy is for the weak. Our enemy.
Okay, so you were using Puff, so you know about this, about the fact that Puff is like meter conservative, but you puffed like 6 times to 5, and only one person actually needed the Puff, which was one. Everybody else was at full health, right? So again, like, be conservative, make sure it makes sense, like take the time to look at their health bar first, right? And then yeah, like again, there's no rush to heal everyone up fast in this situation. We're just holding point, right? We have point control, we won the fight, right? Just heal everybody up at the pace you need. Oops, like, you're still healing, right?
This will improve your condition.
You've gone from like 2/3 meter to 1/3, and nothing has happened, right? I just need to stress, like, conservative this meter.
Get into position. Allow me to repair the damage.
Yeah, before you call, you should pretty much always orb. Either one would have been fine here. I think obviously heal orb probably would have been preferable, but damage orb is also fine, and it lets you chase down kills a lot more efficiently. That's a huge beat.
I'm restoring. Get into position.
Overtime.
Talk about there. Just keep in mind that even if you're trying to heal this guy, the nano blade always takes priority. So make sure you look at the nano blade to see if he's targeting you, so you can know if you need a fade or not, right? And play a little bit away from your tank, so that way when he goes for you, you can fade towards your tank, and it won't like just kill everybody, right? Because like if you play near your tanks and your tanks are low and you're trying to focus heal them, and then he kills, and then he goes for you, you go away and he kills your tank, he can chase you down, right? So just play away from your tanks. Like, I know like they might die if like you don't heal them, but they're gonna die if you die anyways. So just prioritize living yourself, and then see if the situation is salvageable from there. But overall, not really much, a whole lot you can do there.
Must all make sense.
Again, like, you're just like kind of just pressing the button, right? Just because you feel like you should. But like, you just need to resist the urge to always be doing something as Moira. Like, it's okay to do nothing sometimes. But if you just keep doing something, eventually you run out of things
This
that you
will
can
heal
do.
you.
That orb was kind of questionable. I think that probably should have been a damage orb.
Regenerating your cellular structure.
Good discipline, not using anything.
Touch
That damage
from
orb is a little
afar.
sketch. It's okay. Again, small puffs is fine. So we want to engage here. We'd really like that orb. That orb. Okay, so again, this is about reading your team. I understand comms are oftentimes very messy. In this case, you didn't actually know that we weren't actually going to like just run in at them. But if you're not sure, you need to put the orb accordingly, right? So if we're running in, right, and you can call this, so like because like you can control the aggression with Moira, because the aggression is like to some extent reliant on your orbs, right? So it just makes a lot of sense if you want to orb, right, you tell the team to go in so you can orb forward, right? So the orb stays with your team. But if your team's backing up this orb forward to something really bad, you'd much rather throw an orb sideways or even backwards, right? So it bounces comes back, bounces back into your team, and just gets more value overall, right? So just try to read what your team's doing. And if you're not sure, tell them what you want them to do, right? So if you want them to go forward, throw the orb. Tell them to go forward and throw the orb forward. If you need them to come back, right, tell them to like back, or throw the orb more sideways or like straight down or something. Straight down isn't very good here, but you get the idea, right? If it's like an enclosed room, you can throw it straight down and bounce up and down on the roof, and then it'll just stay with your team, right? It'll stay in the spot you're holding, right? But yeah, you want to avoid situations like this where you throw the orb, it only gets like partial value and then leaves, right? Again, remember that you can do two things at once as Moira. So remember that you're still healing while you're damaging, right? So just like take that half second to apply the spray to him, so he gets like 35 healing over the course of 2 seconds, right? And that will add up, right? Especially since this is armor, right? And then go back to right clicking again. If he's on you, don't be afraid to fade, because you don't want to get bursted, just even by accident, right?
I guess they didn't have enough.
Огонь по готовности! Surrender to my will. This is my will. I'm restoring.
Yeah, remember to heal. Get the heal on first, then go back to right clicking, and then alternate as needed, right?
On the objective.
This will heal.
Yeah, like if your team's backing up, heal orb is not the way to go, right? Because then it goes forward, right? So if you're backing up, try to put the heal orb somewhere where your line's backing up too, so it'll stay in the general area, right?
Oh, let's break it. Awesome Crusaders!
Oh, that's not the way to go. Oh, I gotta get the kill. Yeah, that was not the way to fade, probably. You probably just want to go back to
Push on.
Dead yet.
Alright, let's just go to the next point. Let's see if you play anything else. Okay. So yeah, your problems are pretty distinct, pretty clear. So just you really need to work on meter management, and just like controlling the urge to spray when you don't have to, right? And then once you control that urge, then you need to figure out when you actually need to heal and when you don't. But if you're just always healing, right, you're just wasting meter. And remember to keep in mind that like when you need to do both at the same time, damage and healing, always emphasize the healing first and the damage second, because the healing is your job. If you don't heal, people are gonna die, right? So even if like all you do is apply the puff to them, right, give them like the heal over time, right? Even if all you do is that in a lot of cases is still good enough. And then you go back to zapping and just like keep reapplying the spray, right? And then give them concentrated healing when they actually need it, right? Yeah, when you're flush with meter, you just have a lot going for you, right? You can be more aggressive with just like dumping meter on people, right? Dumping the spray. But especially when you're running low on spray, you just kind of have to let them like survive with like healing per second for a while you build meter, right? But you do need to give them the healing per second, right? You can't just ignore them. So like the longest interval you should go without healing them is like 2 seconds, because you can reapply it, assuming they actually need healing the whole time, right? Obviously don't heal them if they don't need it. For fading, be careful about where you fade. Generally your fades are okay, but sometimes you just like fade into a bad spot. And then remember to save orb before coalescence, right? And then always pop orb before coalescence, because it's essentially free. It takes like an extra like maybe half second at most. So it really costs you very little time, and the impact it has is very big. For orb wise, make sure like you're communicating which way you're throwing the orb, or making your team walk in the direction you're throwing the orb already, right? And that way like you don't create situations where your team's backing up and you throw the orb forward, and you get no value on your healing orb, because that happened twice in like one fight, right? And that's potentially like 400 healing in the space of relatively small amounts of time, that you could have had, right? That can make it, and depending on how fast you get the healing, right? Like it can make a really big difference, right? What else? I think those are the big points. If you have any questions, please let me know. Yeah, if you get to this point in the VOD review, DM me what 7 plus 5 is. Not a trick question, just checking to see if you watched it. Alright, that's all.